Hello, Craig. My pleasure to have you here. Craig Caryl, the founder of InsureMEP, an insuretech company. He's based out of Long Beach, a veteran in the space of technology and startups. So he has a lot to share with us for us. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Craig. Please tell us a little bit about your story of origin, how you got here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor. We consider InsureMEP a hybrid of a prop tech and an insuretech. Look, my journey is I like weird little niches that nobody's paying attention to that have problems.
Mm.
So I've done that over the last 25 years pretty successfully, from robotics for Hasbro to med tech products and this is sort of an amalgamation of all I've learned. And we solve a variety of problems with this tool, not only organizing the infrastructure of large commercial properties, 50,000 square feet or larger, but also helping to get better insurance rates by analyzing the infrastructure, identifying problems, and what we like to say, de-risking it for the insurance carriers. Demonstrating how this particular client is doing an exceptionally good job of maintaining their infrastructure and thereby should get better insurance rates.
So who pays you?
The end user client, so the owner of a hospital or a university or a college or a medical building, our clients are typically 50,000 square feet or larger. So the person who owns or controls that building might be the CFO, the COO, or the owner or the head of risk.
Hmm. Okay. And the courier loves you. That's it, because you minimize their risk.
Well, the carriers, I hope they love us. I would say they like us now, because we're helping lower the loss ratio, which is the amount of money they have to pay back out of each dollar they take in. By lowering the loss ratio, that allows them to give better rates, or we call it terms and conditions in the industry, to the client. So the client really likes us, the insurance broker likes us, the carrier likes us, everybody likes us.
Good. So you told me something interesting. You said, for me, it's not the acquisition of wealth, really, it's solving problems for people, and being challenged with a complex problem to solve. So tell me more about this. How does it fuel your energy to get through the bumps, of being an entrepreneur, a startuper?
I mean, I think in life, I'm an adventurer. So I would give you this example. If I'm climbing a mountain or on some expedition, I kind of like when things get rough and I get lost and the storm's coming in and the rocks are falling. It's like exciting to me and it makes it a challenge. So to me, business is the exact same way. The acquisition of wealth or when things are easy, that's not really fun for me. I like it when the chips are down and you're on the you're on the 99-yard line trying to get the ball to the other end. When people don't believe in me, that's my favorite. So I like weird little spaces that are challenging because number one, I can usually operate alone in those spaces for the most part. I don't have like 20 other people who are trying to knock it off, but it's quirky and it's hard, and that's where the biggest payoff is for me. And I mean payoff emotionally. When you design something and it solves a major problem and people are just filled with gratitude, that's like the ultimate drug, to me.
Wonderful. So, listen, you're currently in a rapid growth. Thank you for sharing this. You're in a rapid growth phase with a small but strong team, and you're actively fundraising, right? So, what does the current state of the business look like for Insure MEP? And what are some of the key milestones you've achieved recently that validate your model?
Well, we're in a pre-seed round, so we're raising $750,000. We're a little over halfway through that. So we have about another 320, 330 to raise. We have about a half a dozen major clients, including our first New York high rise. So we have what they say in the industry, product market fit, right? The dogs are eating the dog food. We have big clients that own big properties that have, gigantic names who are like, this product really works for us and is making a difference. I would say the next milestone is what they call getting delegated authority. That means getting an insurance carrier that really believes in what you're doing, who says, "Hey, we'll let you write our policies. We'll let you use our balance sheet so you can write property and casualty insurance. That is a huge validation. We're probably 90 to 120 days away from that happening. I'm pretty sure I know which carrier it's going to be.
Mhm.
But continue to grow. We're doing a couple of big proof of concepts this week in New York City with a major hotel chain and a very, very large high-rise owner. So, we're doing the right proof of concepts. We're getting good customer momentum. We're getting good customer feedback. So, I think we're on the right trajectory. I'm doing cool podcasts like this. So,
Wonderful. You're so welcome. To be here with us. So, you told me a very interesting story about the cryptocurrency. Can you tell us more about that case, that user case for you?
well, the 100% of the crypto data mining operations, so large data centers, they're just exclusively focused on crypto. 100% of them are what we call in the non-admitted insurance market. And there's admitted and non-admitted. Admitted is like, AAA. Non-admitted is like kind of a shaky carrier. Maybe their finances are not that great. Maybe they're located in the Cayman Islands. And it's very difficult to get bank loans if you're on non-admitted paper. It's very difficult to get large scale investment from venture capital if you're in non-admitted paper because if the place burns down, they could lose all their money, right? Maybe the insurance carrier goes out of business. So the premise is that 100% of these data centers are in the non-admitted space, and we're in the process of moving the very first one from the non-admitted to the admitted space. And that's significant because that means it's a blue chip carrier that says, hey, we're really validating this company because we believe, Craig, in your software, right? In InsureMEP and the product that they use and the process they use. That, as a carrier, makes us feel comfortable that all the emergency procedures are in place, that in the event of a problem, an accident, a catastrophic, storm, that your team is prepared to mitigate the damage. And for that reason, we're going to give them better insurance rates, better coverage. And that's what we think is going to be the big hockey stick for us. We know that's coming in the next 3 to 4 months. And that'll be a big story because not only did they get better insurance coverage, they got way better rates. So they saved a very large amount on their property and casualty insurance, which far more than offset the cost of deploying our software and service.
Wonderful. That's great. So you have a clear vision of becoming a $1 billion company in 5 years with a planned expansion from 5 to 45 people and a jump from a handful of deals to about 50 to 100 deals a week or a month. So what does this next level of growth entail for Insure MEP and to achieve a 1,000 SaaS contracts per year, let's say?
Well, it's driven by insurance brokers. So brokers introduce us to their clients. So our model is that each insurance broker is worth about six introductions, so six deals that could potentially use our software. So if we want to get 1,000 contracts in a year, then we need about 500 brokers who are introducing us to six deals each, because we feel like we can close a third of those deals. So the model is not so much about marketing and advertising, it's about enrolling brokers. And right now, I've been meeting with the top brokerages in the world: Marsh McLennan, Brown and Brown, Alliant, Epic. Pretty much, I would say 10 of the top 40 brokerages have already signed on some level. So we feel pretty confident that that sort of go-to-market strategy, that sales funnel, is opening up pretty quickly because we're a very unique solution. And the thing I hear over and over again is, I've never seen anything like this. This is a game changer for us. This is like the holy grail of data. And so we feel confident that our strategy is working and will fuel that growth.
That's fabulous. This is good. I thought there was a little bit of a challenge in understanding, the de-risking that you offer and that, yeah, tell us more about this.
Well, I think anytime you do something new, it's very unique. The challenge is that insurance carriers are providing insurance coverage for the infrastructure of a facility that they really don't ever see, right? So they don't ever see what the facility looks like. They don't know if it's a poorly run facility or a well-run facility. So we're coming in and we're giving them that view. So number one, we're helping the end user client make sure that they're doing the best job to maintain that infrastructure, and then ultimately giving the carrier a view into what they're insuring, which provides, it takes all the opacity away.
Mhm.
It provides clarity so everybody knows kind of what's going on. But whenever you're starting something new, there's an old saying, the first Indians to the fight get all the arrows, right? It's challenging. You have to change the way people work. You have to change the way people think. The significance of what we're doing is that nobody knows this data. So Google doesn't know the data, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, none of the AI models know what's in these facilities, right? Because they're not online. And suddenly you've got this little startup, InsureMEP, that is basically building this incredible, small language model of tens of thousands of pieces of infrastructure that have never been exposed to the world. Now it's a very unique data set we're creating, and in many ways, that SLM we're building may eventually be worth more than the SaaS part of our business or the insurance part of our business. It's one of the great unknowns in our sort of go-to-market strategy right now.
SOM for our audience, please. Precise SOM, you said the valuation.
SLM, small language model. Sorry.
Oh, SLM, small language model. Okay, good, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So of course, that can be the cherry under the cake, the cake under the cherry. Yes,
Let's hope so.
um,
It's some
yeah, yeah.
icing on the top too.
Okay, there's another aspect to what you. So that's fascinating. I was so reflective after our talk last week, So looking ahead to that significant expansion, as much as you are an AI native organization, you'll still need people, right? 5 to 45, and the massive increase in deal volume, the onboarding teams, and the onboarding process. You said that that would be something that are maybe the biggest challenges because it's humans, right? People. So tell us what you foresee, in rapidly scaling those operational capacity to handle this growth effectively.
Well, I think, look, the less we can have human in the loop, the better right now, but it's a part of the process. And you're dealing with a group of technical, sort of mechanical, electrician, plumbers who, do not like talking to a small language model, right? They want to talk to a human being. So it's a unique skill set, the type of people I have to hire. They have to understand infrastructure, they have to understand how to read plans, and they have to be gregarious enough to interact with people who have this institutional knowledge. So it's kind of it's a unique series of qualities for the people I'm looking for. And traditionally, I like to hire out of the military. I find that
Yeah,
ex-military people have a certain discipline, a
yeah,
certain way of holding themselves to, from a sense of responsibility and duty to,
yeah.
showing up on time. So, part of our process right now is building a digital tool set that we can hand each one of these people. So as they go into the field and interact with our clients and our clients' employees, that they can gather the data the most efficiently possible. They can take a picture, and our AI tools can basically reverse engineer that picture from where it's located in the building to the conditional assessment of the tool to what's the warranty information, what's the maintenance that is being done versus should have been done. All this goes into the tool that we build. It's a really complex set of tools coming together to make an assessment and an analysis of a very complex set of devices that all work together to heat, cool, light, a building.
So there are two phases, to that human in the loop aspect, right? There's the hiring, the onboarding, actually three, and then the management. So tell us about those three steps. How do you envision identifying talents and screening them and making sure that you have the right ones. I mean, you said military. I get it. I follow your point. Tell us more about the targeting and then the screening. That's not so easy to interview people and land the right talent.
Yeah, I mean the targeting is not as hard as you would think because there's a very specific skill set they possess or they don't possess. Like we put them
Mhm.
in front of a set of plans and we ask them to explain those plans to us, explain what they're seeing. If I hand them a stack of 100 plans and I say, go pull out the single line plan, which is the very high level electrical plan. They
Mhm.
can either do that in 30 or 40 seconds or they can't, right? That's very easy from that standpoint. I think the harder part is managing people, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not managing so much their work part, you're managing their personal lives, right? Their ability to get along with others, their ability to leave the issues that are going on with their marriage or their kids and be able to get on a plane and perform a service. The ability to, keep them out of the bar, as an example, on a road
Yeah.
trip. I mean, there's just so many factors that come in. But look, I love people. I love being around people. I think people are fascinating. So weirdly, I sort of enjoy that part of the process.
Mhm.
But also, I think you have to hire fast and you have to fire faster.
Mhm. For sure.
Long ago, I realized that, you can't save most broken birds. And, I give people a couple of chances, but after that, it's like the door's shut. There's no discussion. You I wish you well in your life, but I can't take this on. I don't have the bandwidth. So.
Mhm. So, okay, so you said the screening, but what about the targeting, like identifying them and bringing them into the pipeline, and then you screen them? The screening seems to be very clear and clean cut, but the targeting, how do you find them? How do you identify them?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the challenges. We look for DIY type people. We run ads. We speak to other contractors who have people they think are particularly good that are looking for an opportunity. I can't honestly say that I've found it difficult to find them yet, but I've only been hiring one and two.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next podcast, after I've tried to hire 25 of them, one in the Northeast, one in the Northwest, I've had a different experience. But so far, word of mouth, LinkedIn has been great for me. But, look, we're a small staff, we're five, six guys. So I haven't gone through that hiring challenge yet. I may have a different story for you in a few months.
Okay, you'll come back, we'll discuss it. So, thank you. So now you're a people person, you enjoy that, you recognize the complexity of the workforce, management and the teamwork. Um, Beyond that, let's say, visceral appetite for being around people and nurturing them, etc., do you have a system in place, or do you have like recommendations, best practices, to build a team really, around, as you said, a sophisticated, complex project, right? That requires resilience in communicate, persistence, consistency in messaging and getting across something innovative. So how are you gonna, create a beehive? Do you have any recipes from the past that you trust, that work well?
The world is changing so fast these days that what recipes have worked in the past are not working anymore. And I mean, they're changing week by week and month by month. So, like everybody or every intelligent operator, we're utilizing a lot more AI tools. So we built an AI training kind of methodology that puts them through about a 8 hour training session. It asks them to do, real world sort of problem solving.
Yeah.
So I designed that with my partner because I would normally be doing the training. So obviously, if you're trying to scale, I can't be training everybody.
Sure.
So we basically downloaded everything in my experience into this tool, and then we put people through that process, and we watch where they get hung up, and that becomes part of our interviewing process. Even if we pay somebody for a day or two to go through
Yeah.
that, it helps weed out people that got by us, got by one of our filters one way or the other. So, and you get to see kind of, where people's strengths and weaknesses are.
Sure, sure, sure. So So you develop a training. Which tool did you use, just for the reference of our audience?
I'd have to look. I can't remember. My partner Casey, identified it. I'd have to look at my credit card. It comes every month as a charge.
Okay. Anyway, it could be teachable, whatever. It's fine. So okay, great. Onboarding, training. Now, management, team management. I know things change. So first of all, are you going to be in the same space physically, or totally virtual or hybrid? What have you opted for? And then we'll discuss teamwork.
I think we'll be a hybrid. I think you got to keep things lean and mean these days. You don't want to have a big office space. You want to put your money into what people care about. Health insurance, number one. The type of benefits you can offer and treating people well, rather than having a big fancy office somewhere. We're not that type of company. We're very much a kind of a man of the people type of company. We're dealing with people in the trades for the most part, and then we're dealing with insurance carriers, and the majority of the insurance carriers we deal with are have levels of virtual interaction. So they don't look at us any less of a company because we don't have some big presence. So I think on everything you want to keep things lean. In my office, I have a bed, and the office is in the back of the house I live in with my girlfriend. So, when people are coming in from out of town, my first line of defense is you can sleep in the back house. So, and I think you have to know what you get when you are joining forces with a guy like me in a
Yeah,
startup,
yeah,
right? We create that culture. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do is give those people a payday at the end of the day. You don't come to me because I'm got the best benefits or I have the best pay. You come to me because you want an exit. In 4 or 5 years, you want to earn enough stock to put a deposit down on a nice house. Or, if you really work hard, buy the nice house outright. That's the bargain. That's the contract you sign when you come on board. You're not coming because you're staying in nice hotels. You're accepting that you're staying in a shitty hotel.
yeah, sure. And so that of course influences tremendously the style, of interaction. So you want self-starters, entrepreneurs in a way, people who are hyper accountable. And because I hear from people I interview in this podcast, that it's not so easy to manage, a fully hybrid workforce in a fast changing environment with lots of bumps and a lot of uncertainty and so on and so forth. So what what do you intend to do? I know it's not yet the case, but
I look for people that have a high pain threshold.
mm,
So if I'm looking at somebody in the military and they're like a rescue diver, that person has a high pain threshold. If somebody's a marathon runner or a triathlete, I know that they can push through the pain. And
mm,
that's what you need in this game. You
mm,
can't be soft. Soft will get eaten alive. You have to be able to be willing to get beat down and say, thank you. May I have another? Or like, is that all you got? My kid's sister hits harder than that. It's just the way it is. And that's why I lecture a lot at University of California, Irvine, in their MBA program and their informatics program. And I say, look, if you want an easy life, don't come to a startup. Don't be an entrepreneur because there's nothing easy about it. And so that's really the quality I look for more than anything is people's ability to endure challenging circumstances. You
mhm.
grew up poor, hard scrabble, you got a bunch of scars. Come here, man. I got a place for you.
So what's the age average of the people you're going to hire?
Oh, they're mostly kind of mid 30s to early 40s. You have to have a certain skill set that you don't develop as a 21-year-old. It's not that I'm
Mm,
abject to hiring, a young person. I would in a second, but they
mm,
have to really be extraordinary. And it's good to have some life experience.
mm,
I think, kids in America these days are very much like everybody gets a trophy. Well, everybody
mm,
doesn't get a trophy in life.
mm,
And the
mm,
more you learn that, or the earlier you learn that, the easier and the better your life will be.
mm,
If you expect difficult circumstances, and look, I don't care if you're a billionaire. I know billionaires that are miserable for a whole different set of reasons, right?
mm,
Life is hard. And if you didn't have bad days, you wouldn't appreciate a good day. And that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And so you can't soften the blows that people will take because they'll go around the corner and get even worse blows. So, I look for somebody with some history, some skills, maybe they were an alcoholic and they got into AA and their life is in a better path. They appreciate the life they have. I can appreciate that person because they were able to course correct their
Sure.
life.
Sure.
I would never look at somebody like that as broken. I would say, hey, they made some bad decisions, haven't we
Mm.
all? And they course corrected, and that's a person I'll invest in.
Mm. Got it. Got it. So it's very organic, but what I'm hearing, resilience, right? The capacity to weather storms because that's what it is, right? And many storms and on a regular basis. It's a bit like running a marathon at a sprint pace, huh? That's
I'll
what,
give you one other piece of advice that I've learned the hard way.
yep.
It's when somebody does something quirky and weird in the early part of their like interview with me or any part of their interview, I no longer ignore that. I used to sort of ignore it and I would think, oh, it's just a little tick they had and 100% of the time that ended up coming back to bite me. So now
Yes.
if
Yes.
somebody like snaps in a weird way or does something that it seems untoward in some way, I dig deep into that. Like, why did that happen? And
Mm.
that usually is a sign to me that they're hiding something, and I
Mm.
kind of run at that point, no matter how good they look on paper, because I've just had that experience where somebody looks amazing, they fit the bill perfectly, but they did some weird, quirky thing in the interview, which I ignored because it looked like on paper it was going to be great, and it was just a nightmare. And then I had to fire him, and it was a big problem. And so that's my
Yeah.
piece of advice. Look for the
Yeah.
little quirky, weird things that people do because that's a tell, as they say in poker. They just told you what's coming your way. They
The
were
devil.
trying to hide it, but it snuck out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. The devil is in the detail. And there's one successful entrepreneur, billionaire in France, who created an empire in anyway. And he said the one time that I failed the hiring process, which I've always felt was the hardest part of my job, was when I didn't listen to my gut, and that's what you're saying, like those little things that resonate. You don't really know where to place them, but leave them on the shelf and take a look at them carefully rather than setting them aside. Yes, yes,
Get the
yes.
microscope out, get the magnifying glass.
Well, I can't wait to see the development of Insure MEP, right? That's going to be quite something. Um, you know, you know, I'll keep the conversation with you in many ways. Thank you very much, Craig. I love everything you're doing. I think you're really a trailblazer, an innovator. You leverage data, AI, to really bring value to a pretty conservative, risk-driven, industry. So it's not that easy to innovate, right? But you found a way, a crack in the wall, and you're creating a company. And I hope you'll get to your $1 billion sooner or later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Francis. I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. All right, Craig. Until soon. Bye bye.
Bye.